Okay, if you're just joining us, we are ready as well for the discussions. Let me quickly introduce the guest this morning. Glad to have back with us. He's back on our radar again. Honorable Farouk Adamu Aliyu. He's a former member of the House of Representatives from Jigawa State. In the last elections in 2011, he was the governorship candidate of the Congress for Progressive Change in Jigawa State.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
It's also my pleasure to welcome to the program. We're also getting him back after a long time. Honorable Frank Ideke. Honorable Frank Ideke is also a former member of the House of Representatives from Kogi State. You are in the PDP now?
I am in the PDP now.
You used to be in the APP?
That's right.
Good. All right. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Honorable Yusuf Tuggar is also a former member of the House of Representatives, where he's also a member of the CPC. He was the candidate of the governorship candidate of the CPC for Bauchi State in 2011. Honorable, good to see you too.
Pleasure to be here.
Yes, I just told my producer that I hope I'll be able to withstand this CPC people this morning. But what is happening in your party? Which faction do you belong to?
No faction in PDP.
Not PDP. I'm not talking about PDP. I'm talking
no
about
faction in
CPC.
CPC.
Well,
no, you are not in CPC.
No, well, you could see.
How do you know?
You could see my friend from PDP.
Because that is the claim.
That's popular. He's expressing the popular opinion.
That is the claim.
Okay, what is this? What is this tug of war between Buba Galadima and Tony Momo?
No, there is no problem between Buba Galadima and Tony Momo. Buba Galadima is the secretary of the party. Tony Momo is the chairman of the party. So there's nothing between them. Yeah, of course. I mean,
Galadima is not interested in becoming chairman of the party?
No,
that's not what the problem is?
No,
okay.
no, absolutely.
All right.
No, absolutely.
But we can trust on the political sagacity of the general to rein everybody to line.
Absolutely.
All right. 3 days of body. We're seeing body.
Yes.
Your quick take on the air crash. We thought we had put such incidents behind us since 2006.
Well, sadly, first of all, my heartfelt condolences goes to the nation in general, the families and members of all of us in this country over the tragic loss of life and property and this national calamity. But honestly, my take, it's corruption has killed those innocent Nigerians. That's my take. Because that's what happens in all aspects of our life. So I hope we will get to the root of it.
Okay.
But if anything is go to by, if anything, I mean, history is anything to go by, you'll find out that we have had these kind of instances. Has anybody been penalized? Never. Have we ever gotten a report, correct report, about incidents that what happened, who was culpable? It's Nigeria for you.
Honorable Ideke, the president was there yesterday, again, he promised full government inquiry, but we do know that accidents also do happen. Even a brand new plane can crash.
Yeah,
but that is not to rule out negligence.
Yeah, it's unfortunate really that we always propagate this issue of accidents used to happen, but from the research, we are told that over 80% of accidents are as a result of human error. And so, why can we rule out the possibility of error from the beginning of that aircraft coming to Nigeria, from the point of maintenance, from the point of scheduling it to be worthy to fly? Like you said, is corruption not involved along the line? When I was in the House, I was a member of the aviation committee. Each time we visit, there is schedule that will tell you that at a particular time, 3 months or thereabout, an aircraft must go for a particular check, C check, A check, this and that, and the rest of it. They will tell you that the pilot and the crew are subjected to a lot of tests. Unfortunately, is that happening today? If people are claiming accident, you and I fly. Our experiences, are they not fact to show that the systems are not usually to the standard that is expected everywhere in the world? We fly in locally here, you also fly abroad. take a flight to Lagos from here and see the experience. Your heart is usually in your hand until you get down. So if anybody is telling me that everything, I had an engineer on your TV this morning, I feel sad the way he was claiming as if everything is so perfect. So I hope that government will truly do this investigation and bring out the report, because that's what you see elsewhere.
Yeah. If we have a government that is doing so much to rehabilitate our airports and all of that, we can at least count on the government that it will not allow this incident to dent that achievement. So we can hope that something at least should happen at the end of the investigations. Again, one worry that I have here, our plane is built to last forever, because even the airline admits that this aircraft is as old as 22 years. Our plane is built to last forever.
Well, to begin with, I empathize and I can share the feelings that those who have lost loved ones on that plane are going through at the moment, because I lost my sister in the 2002 EAS plane crash.
That's true.
In Kano. Honorable Farouk Arimwaliu is fully aware of that. He knows, what we went through as a family back then. But you see, planes are a creation and operate on the culture of precision. When you talk about whether they're made to last forever, the culture of precision is what allows a society to create, to be able to manufacture the wing of a plane to begin with. If you get the wing of a plane wrong by 0.00 of a decimal point, that plane will crash. So that culture of precision is something that is imbibed in a society when they take themselves seriously. They ensure the minimal level of corruption. You cannot say a country is completely devoid of corruption, but the most minimum level of corruption, discipline, and the culture of precision. One of the attributes or a dimension of a culture of precision is punctuality. So to begin with, let us start examining ourselves. How punctual are we? This is the starting point. Otherwise, we really ought not to be flying about in these planes, that operate on turbine engines. Let us revert to what we can maintain.
Like what?
Prop planes. Because we're playing with our
propeller
lives.
planes.
Yes, because we have not imbibed in that culture of precision.
Propeller planes.
Yes,
they do.
Yes,
they do. Let us
all those Tupolev.
Yes.
Tupolev.
No, Tupolevs are not. We have them in Nigeria. We have propeller engines.
Yeah, but even propeller planes too will need to be maintained.
It's true.
So if we are talking of maintenance there,
the
culture of discipline, that can, even if it is bicycle, if your attitude towards riding a bicycle is that of and a discipline, you will crash.
Absolutely.
No matter
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think 22 years should have been enough for whoever invested in the plane to make his
money back
and confide it to the archives or the museums. Anyway, like you said, our hearts go out to the victims.
If you remember these Gordons, there's this comedian, who says that, the government will tell you not to buy Tokumbo, but then the government will allow Tokumbo planes to come to operate. It's true. It's like a joke, but then it's true.
If you can't buy a Tokumbo car that is over 10 years old, I don't think we should allow planes that are over 20 years old into our airplanes.
Exactly. So
it's all right. We are back to a familiar terrain, constitutional amendment. You had the opportunity when you were in the National Assembly. Yours was the 5th National Assembly. 5th.
Yeah, 5th, yes.
5th, yes. Of course, you had the opportunity of amending so many portions of the Constitution, but of course, just one item torpedoed all of that. The third term issue which crept into the agenda, torpedoed everything. But then the 6th Assembly was able to break that jinx.
Yes.
With some minimal level of achievement.
I think 3 amendments or so.
Yeah, 3. But in the areas that were precise, that were yearly, that naturally didn't constitute serious acrimony. But we're getting into the nitty-gritty of the areas that are very divisive, very political now. How do you see the efforts this time? How do you think it will succeed?
Honestly, if you look at the constitution of this country, to me personally, 95% of the constitution is all right. Honestly, 95%. But the operators, that's us, the political elite, we simply do not operate the constitution as it's supposed to be operated. There are so many sections of the constitution. Yes, there are defaults here and there, but do we operate the present system the way it should be operated? I mean, take the fiscal responsibility, commission. I mean, I remember very well when it was enacted, the act. And if you look at what the act says, like the medium-term expenditure framework, do we really have those kind of things?
Have we ever tried to comply with that?
Exactly. Have we ever tried to comply with that thing? And so when you start talking about fiscal responsibility and so on, look, have you done what you're supposed to do? Last year, the Minister of Finance laid before the National Assembly, if I remember very well, the medium-term framework, the mid-term framework, where they refused to couch the fuel subsidy issue. They didn't do it. The National Assembly tried to do it. Now, can Minister of Finance or the federal government tell Nigerians that on which framework are we working today? The cash plan that is supposed to be adhered to. I mean, so if you look at all these kind of things, if you don't do them correctly, how do we start talking about amending anything? To me, let us, the political class, agree to please work according to the Constitution. If you look at Section 16 of the Constitution, Section 16, 2A, where it speaks about there should be shelter for you and I, there should be care for the aged, there should be pension, there should be this and that.
That falls squarely within Chapter 2 of the Constitution.
Well, exactly. Do we do this kind of things?
We should know has a caveat.
Well, but yeah, what I'm saying, so if the government does not, if the government shirks its responsibility, if we, as the political elite, I'm one of them, if we shirk in our responsibilities, how do we talk about other amendments, which honestly, to me, yes, it's good to amend the Constitution, but let's please attempt to do what is right now, first of all.
Okay. Honorable Ideke, are you one of the people too who believe that the Constitution, that there's nothing wrong with the Constitution, even if anything is wrong with it, we can still make do with it, that the problem is with the operators?
Yeah, like my colleague was just saying the right time, precision. There is one thing that is obvious about life, the character that you exhibit. If we look at to medieval age and what we see they do, we still refer to them, to our local background. At the age we do not have colonial point of administration in our land, people had a character, people had habit, people have what they considered bad and good. And because they practiced them conscientiously, the society was egalitarian in a way. So it is not all about fast rules that you put on the ground. It is all about, just like you say, how do you really approach and interpret, implement those characters that are there. We're just talking about aircraft crashing and result. Of course, there are rules that are laid down for the operation of airlines. If you follow those rules very well, there's no reason why you should have controversial issues like this. And so to me, it is not issue of about amending constitution today, amending today. As a lawyer, I know that there's nothing that is fundamentally wrong with our constitution. Okay. It is our people. After all, this constitution are also subject to interpretation of judges when it's come to implementing or understanding what the provision actually mean, when you and I cannot understand it literally. So why are we talking about amending and amending and amending In UK, in Britain, we say they have an unwritten constitution, and yet they have a very clean society. A society that will envy up to tomorrow. So what's this issue of amendment every day and to play to the gallery, to the conscience of the Nigerian people who are helpless in a way by the elite society, just like you say.
Okay, Honorable Tuggar, where do you start on this issue? Is the problem with the constitution or is the problem with the operators? Like Honorable Ideke said, after all, there are countries that don't have constitutions, at least in the written form like we have ours. But even then, in those countries, they have norms. Norms compel compliance, probably more than laws. Because here you are talking of societal beliefs, things that you and I have mutually agreed that this is what will bind us.
Well, at the end of the day, the major challenge would always be the sincerity of purpose and the will to implement. But given the situation we find ourselves in today in Nigeria and the waywardness of our political elite, I think we have no choice but to make certain amendments in order to begin to set things right. For instance, I would love to see an amendment that would tackle the issue of the National Judicial Council, the fact that the Chief Justice of the Federation is the chairman of the National Judicial Council.
Who determines at least about 24 others.
Exactly.
Who becomes members.
Exactly. I have personal experience with that. For instance, during my tribunal case appeals, I ended up in the Supreme Court. There was a panel of 5 Supreme Court judges, and the case was to be heard. It was heard on a Thursday. We returned on a Monday. We were asked to return on a Monday. We came in on a Monday. There was a new panel. The Chief Justice of the Federation had taken over with 4 other judges. Fresh new panel.
After the case?
And the person sitting right next to him happened to be Justice Ibrahim Tonko from Bauchi State. And I went up to my lawyers and said, look, how can you, isn't there some conflict of interest here? We have a new panel, and right next to the head of the panel is a judge from Bauchi State. What do we do? They said, well, the alternative is you go to the National Judicial Council. But if you go there, you're going to meet this same man there. He's the chairman of it. So you see, the sort of situations we find ourselves. Secondly, the issue of independent candidature. I think it would make some of the political parties sit up. All of them, including the CPC. I'm not, isolating just
So you do believe that there are certain aspects of the Constitution?
Yes, in the 6th Assembly we try to push that through. Well. Thirdly, the issue of funds going to the state legislatures to make them more independent, because at the moment they're just rubber stamps for the governors. So if, just like the NJC and the judiciary has a first line charge which goes directly into the consolidated, from the consolidated revenue fund to them, I think, if there's a way possible without the governors arm twisting the state houses of assembly, because
the National Assembly, for example, is a first line charge.
Yes.
Well, it is, but,
by virtue of the amendment carried out in 2010.
Yes.
The National Assembly also wanted to make the state legislature.
Yes,
but they refused.
They
refused.
They themselves, refused to pass it.
But they are saying it too now. Having seen how financial autonomy has helped the Lagos State House of Assembly, that has just built a brand new complex for itself through its financial autonomy.
Lastly, another area that I feel there's some sort of inconsistency is part 3 of I think chapter 2 of the Constitution,
which you talked about earlier.
No, this is where the states of the Federation are listed. Okay. And then I think also Schedule 4, where you have local governments and all of that. Now, when you talk about revenue allocation, and you say that the boundary of littoral states extends into the Atlantic Ocean, whereas in the Constitution it is clearly defined, and by implication it is the low water mark. We either have to address this issue, either revert to the low water mark, or if we want to change it, then we change it to extend all the way to Bonga or wherever else. So
just two quick ones of what he said. About the literal state, probably my friend and colleague had forgotten that really there was an interpretation by the Supreme Court.
By the Supreme Court, yeah.
On that issue. So I think it's a non-issue, certainly. And then talking about, these sections he spoke about. Yes, this is opinion, but let's even talk about laws, making laws and not being the freedom of information. Look.
Yeah, it's just that I needed to remind you about the literal state issue. That
I know there's a Supreme Court interpretation, but
the question is whether
the Court can be wrong as well.
Yeah, the question is even whether what we are doing now is even an enforcement of the Supreme Court's decision. It will appear as if it's not.
Well,
precisely.
Yeah, because by interpretation of the Supreme Court, some states that had pride themselves as oil-producing states
are not.
Discovered that they were not.
Yes.
Because you discover that where oil is actually explored is not within your territory.
So we're still coming back to no need for all these amendments. Do we work within the Constitution as it is today? We don't.
We don't need amendments.
No. What I'm saying.
As far as that particular issue is concerned. Because your colleague has raised so many issues.
I understand. Look, all these things are true. Yeah. But now, when you speak about like Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of Nigeria ought to be, the Constitution never envisaged, you will have a Chief Justice of Nigeria who will do what he said the CJN did. So, I want you to understand that. So the Constitution never envisages that a judge from Bauchi State will sit on the same panel where Bauchi State case is being,
But the Supreme Court anticipated that the Chief Justice of Nigeria will can preside over panels.
Absolutely. And then that's why I'm saying the Constitution...
But the Supreme Court also is very certain as to how you pick members of the agency. That the chairman is this person, and that the chairman shall pick this person, If you look at the composition of the agency, the chairman, who is the Chief Justice of Nigeria, nominates more than half of the members.
I know.
Absolutely. But the law is certain about that.
Yeah, the Constitution never envisaged at all that there will be a CJN who will not abide by the oath of office. If all of us,
because of the peculiar nature of our country,
if all of us abide by the oath of office and oath of allegiance, I am telling you all these things will not happen.
All right. Let me direct the discussion this morning to the specific area that I actually like us to focus. You have said that there's nothing wrong with the Constitution. How about
I'm not saying there is nothing wrong.
Okay, you said the Constitution is right, at least up to 90%.
If we can operate it the way...
operate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But let me direct your attention to the particular structure of government that we have. Is it right that we run a federal structure where all the attention is on the center? Where the states, the federating units, cap in hand, begging bowl in hand every month to come and sit around the table and decide how to share resources that came in the first place from these same federating units. Rather than the federating units sit on their own, tap all those resources into a bowl and decide what percentage of it to give to the federal for the collective maintenance of the nation.
I totally agree with that particular issue. That look, we as a people should even sit and decide: do we want to be the same? Do we want to have one country? Do we want to be Nigeria as it is called today? And I totally agree with this resource control issue. Let them carry their resources. I mean, there is nothing wrong with that.
So to that extent, you disagree with the assertion in the Constitution here?
Yes.
Let me just...
Because it has not worked.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
That Nigeria is one indivisible, indissoluble nation.
Well, but let me tell you, that's
what it means.
No, that's what the Constitution says. But then, look, Benga, if I fly from Kano to Port Harcourt, I know I'm in a completely different place. If you try to tell me that I'm the same with man from Ijo or an Ijo man, it's not, I'm deceiving myself. Let's agree that, look, we are completely different and then we want to live together. But look, we're just deceiving ourselves. That is why the problem of this resource control, comes from. I mean, Edwin Clark keeps saying that the Northerners like we are leeches, fine. If probably they will take their resources and we also take ours, even if we don't have anything. So as at today,
you cannot say you have. That's a great part of what we made to get to where we continue this discussion. You cannot say you don't have resources.
Of course we do. Of course, I know. That's what I'm saying. If every state will be allowed to contribute to the federation, take your resources. I totally agree with this particular, there should be amendment of this particular section, so that because after doing that, we will then decide, we will see that, look, I am from Jigawa State, the remotest part of this country. Do the people of Niger Delta want Jigawa to be part of, Niger Delta? Because as it is today, the oil in Bonga belongs to the people of Jigawa State as well, according to this constitution. It belongs to all of us, but it is bringing a lot of friction amongst us. It's bringing a lot of trouble. It's bringing a lot of acrimony between us. So I totally agree, yes, we should sit as a people and decide how to go about this revenue sharing. I think that particular section is the most fundamental part of the Constitution that should be amended.
You concede to that?
Yes, I concede to that.
Okay. Do you also think that it is right to have a federal structure where Abuja is the one that tells you whether in Jigawa State you should have 5 local governments for administrative conveniences, or you should have 20 local governments for administrative conveniences?
I also don't agree with that. That's what I'm saying.
So you are beginning to agree now that your 90% is we are chipping away.
No, but 90%. This could be part of the 10%.
Honorable Ideke, yes. We are looking particularly at the kind of structure that we run as a government, which is a derivative of the Constitution. Yes. What do you have to say to the kind of federal structure that we run, if you compare it with other federal structures that we have seen elsewhere?
Yes,
is there a problem there?
Well, from the holistic point of view, there is problem. Problem in the sense that this manipulation is always there. Look, if you shrink Nigeria into family units, once we said before, sincerity of purpose, honesty is not applied in our day-to-day running of administration of every of this unit, this complaint will always be there. Today, you go to every state of the federation today, there are groups that still complain that they are marginalized. They have resources because their son is not the governor, they are not recognized, they are not given opportunities. Those are issues that are obviously existing at every level. So if indeed, even if we decide to say we are a country, a federation country, where powers are derived from the center, if these powers are done properly, manipulated properly, is it manipulation? No. Administered properly the way it ought to be, these problems will not be there. Today you hear people talk about Jonathan has appointed all his jaws into the so-called juicy position in the country. Is that supposed to be so? If people are complaining, chairman of a local government put all people from his village into the payroll of the local government administration. Is it supposed to be so? So whatever you do today, if the force of implementation of the rules and regulations that is guiding every set of units in our country, you cannot get to anywhere. To punish somebody who have done wrong, they are there, even in the constitution, they are there in a lot of our statutes. But do we follow them? We are talking about so many things that are wrong in the system, first and foremost, that we are not applying this law. Are they happening? In the National Assembly, let me go back to the financial autonomy that you talk about. What is the objective? Objective is to be able to have force to control the enormous power in the House, in the hands of the members of the National Assembly, the executive. But today, from the 6th Assembly that just passed, how forceful were they against the executive to make sure that appropriate development, administration of the resources of this country is applied to the people of the ordinary something? Was corruption not thriving? Were people not crying? So it doesn't matter what you looked at. Are the people, the ordinary Nigerians, not also looking at the National Assembly as corrupt? Okay. So look at that issue, is complex. But I think at the basic line of it is when shall we really hold leaders to accountable? Where would Nigerians come to say, like you say, if you are a member of the Congress in America and they see you with a girlfriend, you have already stated yourself. You are in trouble. So when shall we get to that level?
All right. It's okay. Honorable Tuggar.
You see, what the states are accusing the federal government of doing to them, they're doing onto the local governments. They're doing exactly the issue of local governments and local government funds is there in the Constitution. If you look at Section 162, if I'm correct.
Sorry, I didn't know. I want to narrate an experience. In Maiduguri in 1989, I was in court. One Justice Tonye is from Anambra, but he came to Maiduguri for, I think, maybe a tribunal matter or something. He said he had lived in Aba, which was then in Imo State. And that for 30 years he was there. But up at that time, that he was considered a stranger. It's an Igbo man to Igbo man that in Aba, he was considered a stranger. So this issue of Nigeria being one, just like he was saying, I think we're just playing, lip service to ourselves.
Honorable Tuggar.
Yeah,
the area I actually want to direct you to is the kind of federal structure that we have, where the center decides virtually everything. Even where a cemetery should be started in the state, it's almost a federal decision. Where a market should be started, where a supermarket should be started, is almost a federal decision.
I don't agree with that.
Exactly.
I don't think that is the case.
It's not.
As a matter of fact, the Constitution clearly stipulates. If you look at Schedule 4,
yes,
it clearly stipulates whose responsibility it is to site cemeteries, take care of them, taxes. It's local governments. But you find that it's the states, it's the governors, it's the governors that decide that because they hold on to the purse. Sometimes the funds probably don't even go into the joint local government accounts.
Yeah.
Or if they do, they hijack them and they decide what stipend they give the local governments. Yeah. And the local governments are not even elected. The local government councils.
Don't you see something wrong with the centrifugal pull to the center, where the center is so attractive to everybody, and the federated units either have been emasculated of their thinking. Virtually none of them is wearing the thinking cap to see how things can be done differently. Everybody's attention is on Abuja every month.
Some of them are enjoying it. They're coming along for the ride. They don't want to wake up to their responsibilities. They do not want to make their states viable. So, they are equally enjoying it. So it's not entirely the federal government that is insisting they hold on to the powers. No, they're saying, look, we don't want to do anything back home. We want to share from the oil proceeds.
Yeah, because it came from those places to the center in the first place.
Not necessarily.
Abuja doesn't produce.
Not necessarily. Oil. Bonga is not in any state. Akpo field is not in any state. These are deep water blocks. there's oil, there's gas there.
There are states that are contiguous.
They are not contiguous. You cannot go all those miles out in the sea and tell me that.
And you don't get to those places by just dropping from the sky.
Well, you can go around. A Senegalese man can
pass through territory either through Bayelsa to get to.
And the same way,
pass through rivers to get there.
The same way,
pass through delta to get there.
Employing late Dr. Yusuf Bala Usman's argument, the same way the carcasses of cows of people in Mali finds its way down through the West African drainage system, down the river Niger, is deposited in Bonga, accumulates and becomes hydrocarbon.
Carcasses of
cows. Malu.
So that's what becomes
oil. And the bones of some of my forefathers in Udubo, in Gama, local government. So
this theory is very interesting.
Well, that's how
I thought what I heard was that it was the rain that fell in those places.
No, it's the drainage system. It's the river Niger. It's the river Niger. If you look at it, there's look at the alluvial deposits and how deltas are formed all over the world. They're deposits over years, sedimentation.
The truth of the matter is that
out there.
The truth of the matter is that there are still natural resources that have not been washed down from there, from Mali, Songhai down to the south, that are still there. That if the states are allowed to exist as don't want to use the word confederate, but autonomous, and they can tap those resources on their own for the development of their areas.
On a serious note, I actually agree with that. I've been advocating for something like that. We need stripper wells in the Niger Delta, okay? And not necessarily even the Niger Delta. You have gas discovery in Kolmani River in Bauchi State by SNEPCO. Why can't we tap something like that? Why does it have to be in federal hands? Why does it have to be the federal government that is controlling it? So at that level, yes, I'm all for it. And I think it would even be a wake-up call for the governors, for the states, to become more viable. So I'm all for that.
Because when you do a comparative analysis of the trajectory of Nigeria's history, when we started off 1954 up to 1966, where we were running a particular type of government.
It's true.
Where the regions were almost semi-autonomous, there was greater development.
Absolutely.
Because the states could develop, the regions could develop at their own pace, and they were also still sustaining the central by contributing a percentage of what they had. But the buck stayed with them because they were the ones that owned the resources. And the stride of development data was faster and was wider.
I think, honestly, oil, it's a curse to the northern part of this country. When I was a child, remember the pyramids in Kano of groundnuts. You can never find it. I mean, the whole northern states cannot produce one pyramid now. One. Because there is oil. Because they will come to Abuja and take money. I mean, so if we can concentrate on agriculture in the north, I'm sure if we go back to olden days, probably there will not be problem of this no money in Jigawa, no money in Bauchi, and so on. Because the governors, the government collectively have, abdicated, forgotten completely about agriculture. Completely. Because we are all in the northern part of this country into subsistence farming. How can we feed ourselves? We can't even feed ourselves. So honestly, as my friend said, it should be a wake-up call. We should change that aspect of the Constitution and go back to let everybody control his or her resources. I totally agree with this. That will make Niger, are they not controlling their own resources? They didn't have oil. They are surviving. There are still people there. And if you go to Niger Republic today, they are, it's a very poor country, but the way things work in Niger do not work in Nigeria. Because, look, they know they don't have oil. They know they don't have this. Everybody, those that can afford electricity, have electricity in Niger. Those that can afford to have cars, So I think if we go back to the, where we control, we cut our court according to our sizes, I'm sure this country will be a better place.
Honorable Ideke, what do you say to the argument? We're doing a comparison now between what we saw in the First Republic and what we have seen from the years of military rule up until now. Because a lot of people will argue, and quite rightly as well, that it was the military command structure that you must have just one general who is commander-in-chief and then have garrison commanders or divisional commanders and all of that. That's what we have just tried to etch into and knock into a law, which is what we have as a constitution right from 1979.
Yeah, I to some extent agree with that. However, I still like us to go back to, I said earlier on, what was the society, the pre-colonial, colonial period, and then when we have our independence, even the time of the military that we're talking about, what are the sequence of actions taken by the Nigerian people? In my place, if you are of age, you are under your father, you are working for him all the year round, and you have age. Your father gives you an independence, give you a portion of the land and say, now begin to farm on your own. The zeal to be independent and the effort you are going to put is far, far better than when you are still...
Yeah, because you know that you are the
now
author and finisher of your own
that
destiny.
does not stop you from supporting your father when your yield is very good. So I think that is the point which I say that independent in terms of our resource, developing our resources is very important here. The other aspect I think we should really look at, as a lawyer, there's two systems of law that are practiced most part of the country in the world, the inquisitorial and the acquisitorial. It means one system is that which we are operating now. Government is compelled to prove that I am corrupt. The other system is that which is, if, Benga, you come here and see me with a phone, and you suspect that that phone does not belong to me, the bonus is on me to prove that I am the owner of this phone. It's acquisitory. So now that I expect there's an amendment, we should adopt that system. Okay. Where a situation where directors have houses in Metama and you calculate their salary for the 35 years they are supposed to do the service.
To pay for your rent in the 3-bedroom
members of my due respect to, including me, member of the National Assembly, if you look at what the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission provide as our earning put together, it's not enough to buy one car that colleagues are using today. How do you really account for all these things? Those are the only way that you can get the system right.
Okay, our time is fast spent, Honorable Tuggar. Can you be just quick with it? I just need to give you that fair chance.
Well, the people are not the same. People in the First Republic are not the same as the people we have today, as leaders, as governors, and if you don't have that check and balance, at the federal level, I wouldn't want to imagine some of the atrocities that would be committed by.
But was it better in the First Republic? The system
it was to a certain extent. To a certain extent, it was.
All right. We advance along that line. I don't know where next that will be. We've largely talked about the economic side of it, but the political side of it is really also very germane. We need to also talk about it. What should be the relationship between the center and the federative units? Thank you so very much, gentlemen. I'll be joined in the discussions this morning by Honorable Farouk Adamu Aliyu. He's a former member of the House of Representatives, former governorship candidate.
Former minority leader.
Former minority leader too in the House of Reps. Thank you so very much. We appreciate your time. And of course, former member of the House of Representatives as well, Honorable Frank Ideke. Thank you so very much. We appreciate your time. Also, former member of the House of Reps, former governorship candidate as well, Honorable Yusuf Tuggar. Thank you so very much. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Right. That's the program this morning. We will be back tomorrow, God willing. We hope we'll be able to also count on you then. My name is Ben Garuli. I'll see you tomorrow.